If fibromyalgia involves the nervous system being stuck in stress mode, why does it stay that way? Why doesn't it just switch off when life feels calmer? That's the question I want to answer in today's video. Fibromyalgia is closely linked to how the nervous system responds to pressure and threat. And for many of us, that stress response doesn't simply turn itself off, even when we're no longer in danger. In this video, I'm going to explain why the nervous system stays on high alert, what kinds of things can keep it there, both past and present, and why this has nothing to do with weakness or failure. If you've been following this nervous system series, this episode will deepen what you already know. And if you're new here, don't worry, this video stands on its own. So let's get into it. Our nervous system has one main job. Are we safe, or do we need to protect ourselves? It doesn't ask once, it asks it all day, every day. And it doesn't just respond to danger right now. It responds to patterns it has learned over time. Fibromyalgia can develop when the nervous system has learned that staying on high alert is the safest option. That learning is not a choice, and it's not something we did wrong. This video isn't about fixing anything yet. It's about understanding why the stress response stays on. When we say the nervous system has learned to stay on high alert, we're not saying that we caused this, or we chose this, or that we can just think our way out of it. We're saying our bodies adapted to the lives we were living. For many of us, that learning started early. I'll use my own story to illustrate this, not because it applies to everyone, because it helps make the process easier to understand. I grew up in a household where there was a lot of stress. My parents were under pressure, particularly financial. There was anger in the home, and praise and attention were minimal. I spent a lot of time on my own. I learned to be quiet, I learned to listen, and I learned to be good. And without realizing it, I learned how to keep myself safe. And that meant watching people closely, worrying about getting into trouble, and trying to do everything right. Those behaviors helped me survive at the time. The problem is the nervous system doesn't automatically let go of patterns just because life changes. As I got older, those same patterns stayed with me. I overthought everything, I struggled with authority figures, I worked harder than most people, and I found it really difficult to rest. I became an overdoer because stopping didn't feel safe. Even when I was living independently, in a loving and stable relationship, in jobs where I wasn't under threat, my nervous system didn't know that. It was still running on old safety rules. Now, this won't apply to everyone, but many of us with fibromyalgia recognize some of these patterns. Being highly alert to other people's moods, overthinking and anticipating problems, perfectionism, people-pleasing, fear of getting things wrong, difficulty fully relaxing, and pushing through exhaustion. These aren't personality flaws, they are survival skills that once kept us safe. If this sounds true for you, let me know in the comments. Stress isn't only about what happens to us, it's also about what happens inside us. Things like anticipation, for example, waiting for an appointment or an event. Self-pressure, wanting to get everything done, or living by rules that were given to us, like you must keep busy. Fear of failing or letting people down, feeling that good enough isn't good enough. It has to be the best we can do. It's also important to know that our nervous system doesn't distinguish between I'm excited and I'm under threat. It just detects raised pressure and effort. So even positive events can keep the system on high alert if there's a lot of planning, responsibility, or expectation attached to them. For example, we're thinking about moving home possibly, and even though it's a very positive move, all the decisions, the planning and the uncertainty that goes on around it is causing some mental fatigue. For some of us, it isn't the big stresses that come up occasionally, it's the stress that daily life brings us that keeps our bodies in threat mode. For example, living paycheck to paycheck means constantly thinking about what can we afford, what has to wait, what gets sacrificed. That constant decision making creates pressure, even if we don't consciously feel stressed. Research shows that ongoing financial strain is linked to higher levels of physical illness because the body stays in problem-solving mode. The same can happen with difficult work environments, ongoing family responsibilities or issues, caring roles, unpredictable schedules, and there's probably some different pressures in your own life. We might tell ourselves we're coping, but the body is still carrying the load. For some people, fibromyalgia starts after an event like a virus, an injury, an accident, or a major loss. The body goes through shock and the nervous system never fully comes back down. And then fibromyalgia itself becomes part of the pressure, not knowing what's happening in the body, being dismissed or not believed, managing unpredictable symptoms, worrying about flares, and second-guessing decisions, and also constantly questioning our own ability. And this happens to all of us with fibromyalgia, no matter how it was triggered. Even if earlier life felt stable, the condition itself can keep our systems on edge. Sometimes fibromyalgia follows one major event, other times it's years of low-level pressure. The nervous system copes until it can't. So taking into account the pressures I've talked about, it makes sense that flares suddenly seem to appear out of nowhere. When we're already running hot, it only takes one small thing, a thought, a reminder, a worry, a change in plans, a life change, to tip the system into a flare. That's why so many of us say, but nothing happened, why am I suddenly in a flare? It's important to understand that a nervous system that has learned to stay alert doesn't always feel safe when it stops. Stillness can bring awareness to symptoms. Quiet can bring thoughts back. Rest can feel uncomfortable. So we push or stay busy or feel worse when we finally stop. That doesn't mean that rest is wrong. It means the system hasn't yet learned that it's safe to rest. Nothing about this means that we're broken. Our nervous systems adapted, often brilliantly, to the lives we were living, and they helped us keep safe. The issue isn't that they learned, it's that they haven't yet been shown consistently that life is different now and that we are safe. And that's where understanding changes everything. In the next video, I'll show you how to start helping your nervous system feel safer again, gently and realistically, not with overwhelm, not with endless techniques, but with simple, repeatable ways that reduce threat and increase safety. Some of them will be things you already know about, but you will now understand more deeply and will be able to do them. If you missed the previous video in this series, I'll link it here. And as soon as the next one is ready, I'll link that here too. Until next time, take care of yourself and be well.